if you're going to see tremendous success in your business, if you're an entrepreneur, or even if you're an executive or you're a leader within a company that you're not the founder or you're not the owner of, but if you're going to see tremendous success, there's a couple tips that you can take from John D. Rockefeller and from Warren Buffett. And I know different people have their opinions about John D. Rockefeller. Some of his business practices are not acceptable today. Many of his business practices are still very applicable and very successful. And it's even echoed in some of the things that I've heard Warren Buffett say. I mean, Warren Buffett is famous for saying that, accounting is the language of business. If you don't understand it, then you're going to struggle to win in this game. And one of the things that John D. Rockefeller said many times was that he had a very good grasp of the numbers in his business. It was to the point that he said that, knowing his numbers of what mattered, the metrics in his business that mattered the most, knowing his numbers so well is what actually gave him a competitive advantage over other people. Because when he knew his numbers so well, he could be in a meeting and he could know whether a decision was going to be good or bad, or whether it was going to have a positive or negative impact on the business, because he understood and he knew his numbers. So when he was talking through a deal, he kind of almost visualized exactly how it would look on the financial statements. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner and you may be saying, yeah, hey, there are a ton of things that I am trying to wrap my mind around, and there are a ton of things we're trying to do sales, I'm trying to do HR with personnel management, I'm trying to manage the relationship with the existing clients, we have venture capital that we're trying to manage that, and I get it, I understand that. I mean, I've worked with tech companies, and I've worked with startups, I've worked with bigger, 100+ year old companies, and I understand that. So one of the things that I recommend for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, if you're not at a point where you can bring on a full-time CFO or a full-time finance or accounting person, one of the things that you can do is to contract or work with a finance person, an experienced finance person or an experienced accountant. And what you can do is ask them to help you develop whatever the dashboards are or the quick metric analysis that you can look at on a regular basis to know, hey, what decisions do you need to be considering? Do you need to, put a little bit more energy into the marketing, or do you need to put a little bit more effort over here? Or, hey, do you need to take a step back and look at your cost structure? So one of the things that I've done with some business owners where they're not at a point where they can afford to hire a accountant or finance person full time. And if they're not at that point, and I'm like, hey, but we should still work together, and let's create some metrics for you. In some cases, I've created them in Excel, where I've just created some quick metrics for them to where things, let's say on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, they can pull up this file and they can run their numbers through it to say, okay, all right, these are the critical things that we need to be keeping an eye on. And it's really helped guide them into making better decisions or making more well-informed decisions. Because it's not necessarily that any decision is right or wrong, but when you are in that growth phase and you have so much to manage, one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing is that you're making informed decisions. So I would say knowing your numbers is very, very critical. Now, you may not have the luxury of figuring out or spending all of your time on it. So it is a great opportunity for you to either have your finance person to develop it for you, or you can contract with an experienced finance person and just, hey, show them what your financials are and ask them, hey, what are the critical metrics that I need to be monitoring for my business? And they can actually create a dashboard for you so that on a weekly basis, you know what you need to be looking at. So you can say at any given moment, hey, we're headed in the right direction, or hey, these 3 things about my business are headed in the right direction. Hey, these things over here, we probably need to put a little bit more energy to figure out, hey, how do we get this steered in the right direction? Because when you know your numbers, you can make a lot better decision. I mean, your decisions will be a whole lot better when you know your numbers.